What's going on, everybody? Welcome to another edition of Dog Talk with Holden. Hope you guys are doing all right this evening. I know it's been a pretty long weekend after the rough game that we had on Saturday. Nonetheless, I hope you guys are doing all right. Joining in on us. I know it's a day later than I normally hit you guys with this, but nonetheless, I appreciate you guys tuning in and checking in with us. You guys follow me on Twitter at DawgTalk20. Put that out up front. I did open the sponsor, I guess you could call it support segment. So at the bottom of this podcast, there's a link there if you guys want to support the podcast. I'd greatly appreciate that. That will give you a few options there if you guys wanted to do that. That would, again, just be cool, whatever you guys want to do. It's all up to you guys. I'm going to go ahead and put up on the screen for you guys the updated top 25 that we'll run through in just a minute, as well as the Georgia schedule, updating the scores, rankings, as well as a couple of times that have come out for the upcoming kicks. So I'll go ahead and throw that up on the screen for you guys watching visually. Again, click that Linktree link, and you will be able to jump straight to, I believe, the Twitter page, as well as podcast page, YouTube channel, all that fun stuff. Nonetheless, let's jump right into it, you guys. Tough weekend falling to the Florida Gators. It's been quite a while, and I hated to do it in this fashion. We came into the game beat up. We left the game more beat up than we came into it. We have got a ton of injuries, just a ton of injuries. Hate to see it. We came into the game fighting hard. Things looked really good. I was thinking that things would continue on that route as far as looking good into the game, but things just got really bad after that second touchdown when Marcus Rosemary obviously looked like he broke his ankle. I saw where they said it was dislocated. Don't really know the difference. Nonetheless, didn't look really good. Did hear earlier today, though, that he does at least seem to be in good spirits. He did have surgery earlier on that ankle, does expect to have a full recovery. So that is good news as far as that goes. Prayers up to him and his family, obviously continued, as he will be missed for the rest of the season because he will be out, unfortunately. Nonetheless, again, we rolled into that very same play. Stetson Bennett gets hit, dislocates, or doesn't dislocate, but what they say, separates his shoulder. What I think they said is like an AC strain, something like that. I'm going to go through our list of injuries here in just a minute, but in the meantime, let me just kind of do a quick run through of the game, then we'll talk a little bit more in depth about it. Georgia opens the game up. Huge 75-yard touchdown run by Zamir White down the left side. Watching it, man, I'm hooping and hollering because what do you want more than when your offense is struggling to the first play of the game, bust for a 75-yard touchdown run and get things going? What a great way to do it. And then Georgia turns around and gets Florida in a 3-and-out situation, get the ball back. And a huge pass from Stetson Bennett to Marcus Rosemary, obviously on that play where he boogers his ankle up there for another touchdown. The Dogs are up 14-0. Looking at the clock, there's just a little under 12 minutes left in the first quarter. I mean, quick strikes for the Dogs as they go up 2 touchdowns. But things really started to kind of go downhill after that, after obviously the 2 injuries there. Again, coming into the game beat up, it just made it really, really tough. Again, I'm going to jump into those here in just a minute. But then Florida does go on to score a couple of times before we get to the end of the first quarter, where we're all tied up at 14. Big pick six coming out of the second quarter there for Eric Stokes, 37-yard pick six to put the Dogs back up 21-14. And then the Dogs wouldn't see the scoreboard again until late in the third quarter. Florida just started to put it on us. Our defense was struggling. Obviously, injuries played a good and key component in that there in the second quarter. And then Florida getting the ball back after halftime and being able to score right before the half. That made it really, really tough, not only on a field goal with 1:44, but with 11 seconds left to get that touchdown to Trayvon Grimes after just a monster hit that Lewis Seen put on Kyle Pitts that not only took him out of the game, but also took Kyle Pitts out of the game. I think it took him out of the game, obviously, because they called it targeting. I don't think the targeting call would have happened had Kyle Pitts not kind of prepared himself for the hit that was coming and ducked down a little bit. Georgia doesn't teach players to go out there and just rock people's world as far as hitting people in the head and knock them out. Unfortunately, Kyle Pitts just kind of braced for impact, and when he did, it brought his shoulder down a little bit and made it a head-on collision. Both guys looked pretty stunned after the hit. Laid there for a few minutes. Lewis Seen got up. It definitely looked like, even though he was kind of shaking his head like he was fine. It definitely looked like he wasn't quite so sure where he was. Kyle Pitts got to the sideline, and you could see he had to leave the game. Looked a bit emotional there. I think they said concussion protocol for sure on his end. And even if Lewis Seen didn't get a targeting call, he was out of that game because you could tell he was just kind of out of it. He as of Monday is on concussion protocol obviously as well, so he's day to day as far as coming into the weekend. Prayers to him. Hopefully everything starts to shake out for all of that for him, because these injuries just continue to pile up for our Dogs. That was tough there, getting into the third quarter. Luckily, our defense was able to stand up really, really well in the second half. Coming into that second half, it was 38-21. Held them to a field goal there, starting the third quarter, made it 41-21, and we weren't out of it. We weren't out of this game at all. We missed a ton of opportunities, which I'll get to in a minute. DeJuan Mathis did connect with Kearis Jackson on a 25-yard touchdown pass late in the third quarter to make it 41-28. And through the entire fourth quarter, Georgia fought. Georgia had multiple opportunities, had guys wide open that were missed, had guys getting the ball hit in their hands and just couldn't hold on to it. Even had a pick six. We had at one point, DeJuan Mathis could have connected with Demetrius Robertson down the side, or actually down the middle of the field. Had he connected with him, that's a huge touchdown, basically walking into the end zone touchdown there, pulls us within one score. And then just a little while after that, there was a really good pick six opportunity, unfortunately, that was dropped that actually would have put the Dogs up 42-41. So in no way, shape, or form were we out of this game. Unfortunately, the opportunities that came were not taken. We just didn't grab hold of those opportunities like we needed to. Late in the fourth quarter, they were able to kick a field goal. Definitely put that game out of the reach as we tricked under a minute there to play, as the Dogs end up falling 44-28 to them lousy stinking Gators. But hats off to Kyle Trask, because great quarterback there, and Georgia will be opening up the quarterback room. One thing that I was reading, which is a good thing. Again, Stetson got hurt, went out. DeJuan came in, didn't look all that great, and then Stetson actually came back in before throwing that big interception. And we talked about this before playing them. You just cannot make those mistakes, because when you make those mistakes, it makes it really, really hard to come back from. Kirby knew that. When the mistake happened, he knew it was time to take him out. You could see him talking to him on the sideline, and you could see it. Stetson knew it. He knew he couldn't make another mistake. I mean, six interceptions in 3 games, really 2.5. You just can't do it. Unfortunate for him. I know his shoulder was probably giving him fits. He just started missing guys really bad, had guys open. Not all of it was his fault, because he did have guys open that he missed. That is his fault, but then he had guys that he hit right in the hands that unfortunately dropped balls, and you can't do it. I've always been the type that if it can hit you in the hands, you got to be able to catch it. I may not be able to do it, but I'm not the one out there on the field. So I know some people would say that, oh, well, why don't you get out there and do it? Well, I'm not the one that is, but I can tell you that I feel like if it hits you in the hands, you got every opportunity in the world to be able to catch it. But nonetheless, we move on from that. DeJuan Mathis comes in. Same thing. He was overthrowing a few guys. One thing I will say that I was actually pretty surprised by is we did learn in this game that both of those guys can throw the ball pretty well downfield. They hadn't been doing it previously in these games, previous obviously, but they did start to pick up on that later in the game. Unfortunately, just couldn't connect anybody on meaningful plays. So number 5 Dogs do fall to the number 8 Gators, and that updated ranking there, Georgia does fall down to that 12th spot at 4-2. Florida will move up to the 6th spot at 4-1. Let's take a look at your top 25 here, because Alabama does take over the top spot after Clemson fell to Notre Dame. Notre Dame does take that 2 spot, Ohio State in 3. Then you got A&M rounding out your top 5 there. So let's run through some of your injuries here that we pulled up. Obviously, Stetson Bennett, they did call it an AC sprain in that right throwing shoulder, so he's going to be day-to-day. Not really sure how he practiced today. Didn't hear anything on that. Marcus Roseberry, obviously dislocated ankle. He's out. Kendall Milton, he's going to be out 3 to 4 weeks after straining his MCL. That happened in the third quarter. Kind of an awkward little deal there when it almost looked like he was going to try to kind of hurdle a player, and then as he was going to do that, another guy hits him right on the outside of that knee for Florida. Really ugly. To me, that's kind of a low blow hit to go for a guy's knees like that, but maybe that's what they're taught. So, nonetheless, defensive back, obviously Lewis Seen, like we said, he's in concussion protocol and would also miss. No, I think that was actually the first half, so I don't think he would miss any of the Missouri game because he had to sit out this last half of this previous game. So that's one thing if he can get back into it. Some of the other injuries that I was looking at here, get down to them. Kendall Milton, he's got an MCL sprain. I think I just said that. Excuse me. Let me move on from this one. Jordan Davis, he's considered week to week. We were hoping we'd get him back this week. Unfortunately, we didn't. He's got an elbow injury that continues to bother him. Kenny McIntosh, he had a knee injury after that Alabama game. We were hoping to get him back, but now his hamstring keeps kind of being an issue for him. He did travel to the Florida game but didn't play. So he's kind of day-to-day as well. Tommy Bush, he had a concussion after being involved in a pedestrian accident. George Pickens, same thing, his upper body issue. It all goes down to that pain tolerance as far as his upper extremity goes. So we'll see how things go as it continues to rebound and rehab this week. Richard LeCount, obviously after the bad accident, prayers continue for him back on Halloween. He's going to be out, I think, 4 to 5 weeks, so keep an eye out for him. One of the things that I did not see last week that I see now is Julian Rochester. They actually did say it's going to be an ACL injury, so he's going to be out for the season, as well as obviously Dominique Blaylock before the season and Keely Ringo with torn ACLs and torn labrums. So that rounds out your injuries. I mean, we've got a book full of them there. So good thing about it is we are an uptick, and a good thing to be able to see on this is we are gonna see the quarterback play be opened back up. Kirby did talk a little bit about that as far as the quarterback stuff does go. After the injury that Stetson did take on that shoulder against Florida, and I'll get that pulled up for us and read a little bit into it that I was reading earlier that actually looked really good. Stetson didn't look terrible in the game, unfortunately. Again, balls dropped in situations that you just can't drop balls. And I'm actually seeing something that popped up here just a minute ago, and that is Arkansas's Sam Pittman, head coach. After a good win this weekend, unfortunately, he has tested positive for coronavirus. So I know a number of cases have risen. Mississippi State, I think they were one man shy of having to cancel against Vanderbilt. That's probably why they only squeaked out a 7-point win there over Vandy. And they are actually having to postpone their game against Auburn. That's getting moved to the end of the season, so they won't play this upcoming weekend. Obviously, we play them next weekend, so that'll be something to keep an eye on there. Arkansas, I think they're going to end up having to cancel their stuff this upcoming weekend, which I believe would be Florida. Don't know how that'll shake out because Florida and LSU are set to play at the end of the season already. So if Arkansas was to have to cancel this week, I really don't know how that shakes up. That would be the first time, I think, for the SEC that it's going to be tough to try to figure out some scheduling issues there. But for Florida, they'd be really lucky to be able to have a bye against, right now, one of the best Arkansas teams that we've seen in quite a while, especially on that defensive side of the ball. They did get a good win over Tennessee this past weekend. Something to keep an eye on there. I think LSU's numbers are starting to rise as well. So just keep an eye out around the country on some of these cases that are beginning to grow. In some of the other growing injury lists that we were talking about with the Dogs, let's get into some of your quarterback talk here as far as how we feel about the upcoming quarterback deals, because I do know that Kirby did say that because of the injury that Stetson took, and we're really limited on wondering, how far it is as far as how far can Stetson go? Will he actually be able to start? Will he be able to get in the game if that shoulder is giving him a lot of issues that it was giving him Saturday? Going to be something to see, but it does sound like Kirby's really open to open up that quarterback competition, which is good. And one thing I was thinking about this was if you don't start Stetson and you start DeJuan Mathis, and Stetson is a no-go in that game, look who that makes your second string. I don't think it would be Carson Beck. I may be wrong on that, but I believe that would make JT Daniels your backup guy. It was really strange to see him on the sideline. I know in the past I've seen him on the sideline with a hat on, talking to the coaches up top. So that led me to believe that maybe his injuries have been an issue, but he's still been there mentally. Well, watching him on the sideline this past weekend, seeing him sitting there staring up at the scoreboard kind of made you wonder, is this guy ready? And he's just not getting put in. So I don't know. This week could be a telltale sign for a lot of things that are to come, because if Stetson was a no-go for this upcoming weekend, playing at Missouri and didn't even travel, obviously your first-string guy would become DeJuan Mathis, and maybe your second-string guy becomes JT Daniels. If DeJuan struggles, you may get JT in there and we finally get to at least see what's going on, and if it's even worth noting that, hey, maybe this guy shouldn't be in there at all. At least we'll get a lot of questions answered out of it. I think at this point, a lot of us just want to see him out there just to see what he can do. Maybe he gets out there and just kind of just doesn't do good. I mean, that's all there is to it. And we learn, okay, maybe this guy shouldn't be in there. So let's see. Smart did say that quarterbacks J.T. Daniels, DeJuan Mathis, and Carson Beck will get to work in the early part of the week, with Bennett being kind of limited. So let's see. Yeah, I wasn't seeing what I was hoping on this page. I'd seen something earlier. But anyway, nonetheless, that'll be something to keep an eye on. Obviously, prayers out to Stetson. Prayers out to all of our guys, our entire team. We got a lot of injuries going around. Hopefully, all these guys, not just to be able to come back and play. That's the key thing for a lot of us, but just for their careers in general moving forward. You know, we hope these guys get better so they can continue progressing and moving forward. Not only to get out there and play, but to be able to continue forward with their careers. If they're going to move forward and play for the NFL, you obviously want these guys and wish these guys the best health to be able to get back up and move forward in life as far as all that goes. So hopefully none of these injuries hold them back. Obviously, when it comes to the Georgia football team and losing to Florida this weekend, it makes it really hard as far as being held back from the possibility of playoff contention. We'll see. This is the first time since 2016 that Georgia really doesn't kind of control their own fate as they take on Florida and lose. You know, now Florida gets to control the fate. If Florida doesn't lose, they get to go on to the SEC Championship on the 19th, and more than likely at this point going to face Alabama in that matchup. So you might see another top 10 matchup when that comes out. We'll see how the season rolls on. But I think it's going to take Florida losing to two SEC East opponents and Georgia winning out for Florida to fall. And looking at the rest of their schedule, they have Arkansas this coming weekend. But if for whatever reason Arkansas's numbers jump up, that's not going to matter. Then you got Vanderbilt. They should take care of them, take care of Kentucky, and take care of Tennessee. So it's really slim pickings. But nonetheless, we will at least keep an eye on it. Running through a couple of your stat lines real quick that I did want to hit for us, even though they don't look all that great. We did run the ball fairly well. Defense really stepped up in that second half, which I was proud of, even though we gave up 44 points. I was really, really afraid that Florida's defense, or offense, especially after coming into the second half with momentum and having the ball, I was really afraid that their offense was really going to step up. But luckily, our Dogs' defense did step up and show out. We're still struggling against the pass. Obviously, I don't want to contribute a lot of it to the defense just because we're so beat up on that side of the ball. And we're beat up on the other side of the ball now as well. But, you know, I think if you get a lot of your key guys back in there on defense, it makes a big difference. Nonetheless, you got to be able to play without guys when it comes to injury and stuff. So it did boil down to that. Offensively, Stetson Bennett, 5 for 16, 78 yards, 1 touchdown, 1 interception. DeJuan Mathis, 4 for 13, 34 yards, 1 touchdown, 2 interceptions, one of which was really kind of in mop-up. Or really, it's not mop-up for him. It's kind of clean-up duty there at the end. Just shouldn't have thrown it, just kind of threw the ball up, and you guys saw what happened, obviously, there in the end. So we do go 9 for 29, 112 yards, 2 touchdowns, 3 interceptions on the night. Zamir White, after the 75-yard opening touchdown run, didn't run for much more after that. 7 carries, 107 yards, another 100-yard game for him, so congrats to him on that. 1 touchdown on the night. James Cook did touch it 6 times, 26 yards. The only touchdown on the ground did come from Zeus. Looking at the receiving side, Kearis Jackson, 4 touches for 48 yards, 1 touchdown. Obviously, Marcus Roseman did have that 1 catch, 32 yards for a touchdown. James Cook touched it 3 times, 17 yards. Burton 1 time, 8 yards. Zeus also with 1 catch from the backfield for 7 yards, so we did have 112 yards, like I just said a minute ago, through the air. Stetson threw that 1 interception. And looks like he actually fumbled the ball as well 1 time. Defensively, Nakobe Dean looked really good for the defense. 15 total tackles, 10 of which were solos. Had a couple of sacks on the night. Looking at it, Jermaine Johnson had 1 big one that I was looking for. Trey Walker also had another one. Malik Herring had half of one they called for him. And Norton also, he got the other half of that. So 4 of them for him. Eric Stokes, big pick 6 there in the third quarter. 37-yard return is what they put on it. Should have had another one. Again, looking at it, Georgia had so many opportunities with missed balls and drop balls, and then late in the game, the possibility for some pick sixes, or even if it wasn't a pick six, interception with a good field position and a good opportunity to possibly put some points on the board to get us back in it. So really unfortunate there. Jake Camarda, he started the night off really well with a couple of booming punts, and then started to shank a couple, and I was getting nervous for him because he didn't look all that great last year, has looked fantastic so far this year. And then in the middle of this game, I think he just started kind of getting in his own head. Luckily, by the end of it, he got out of it. Did have 7 punts on the night, which I think is another high for Georgia as far as having to punt the ball this season. Nonetheless, we're going to move forward. I saw a really good picture earlier that I wanted to share with you guys. I'm not going to share it on video with you guys, but I am going to tell you guys if I can find it. May not be able to find it. I thought I saved it. Yeah, here it is. It's actually a Ken Griffey Jr. quote, and it was this: you lose, you smile, and you come back the next day. You win, you smile, and you come back the next day. So hopefully Dogs take that mentality, and we do that. We lose, and we smile, and we come back the next day and get prepared for the following week. And if we win, we do the same thing. So I hope these Dogs can come back, put a smile on the face, get ready for the upcoming weekend that we're going to have against Missouri. Looking back at some of the stats that I was looking at, I did want to put up your Dog of the day that I have for you guys. And I think I've really got to give it to Zamir White having another 100-yard rushing day. That big 75-yard run, obviously, to open it up, which did give him most of his yardage. But nonetheless, he had another 100-yard night, which is really good for Zeus and for the Dogs. We like to put 100 yards per player up there as many weeks in a row as we can. And Zeus got him another one, 7 carries, 107 yards with a touchdown, average 15.3 on the night. So looked good starting things off. Kept that number above the 10 spike, which I really like to see. Didn't get to touch it a lot, but nonetheless, we did get 165 yards on the ground. So without that, I mean, again, I'm going to keep it short and sweet and simple for you guys. Looking on some of the other games around the SEC, I'm not going to pull them up for you, but I'll talk a little bit about them real quick. Which was that Vandy-Mississippi State game. 24-17, Mississippi State gets the win over Vandy. A lot closer than we thought, but again, they were right on the cusp of not being able to play that one at all. A&M takes care of South Carolina 48-3. Watch out up there, Will Muschamp. I think your seat's getting a little hot in South Carolina. We'll see how that one shakes out. And one of the games that I actually was hoping and picked for Arkansas to win, and they do. They beat Tennessee 24-13. Glad to see it. Hate to hear that Sam Pittman up there, the head coach, is going to be possibly out for the rest of this week and possibly the following with the positive test coming coronavirus. Obviously, he'll do like Nick Saban and take multiple and have to have multiple to be able to play in the weeks coming to be able to get back on the field. Nonetheless, again, that's about all I got for you guys. Going to keep it short, sweet, and simple. As I said just a minute ago, let me pull my stuff back up here for you guys. Get our follow board up here and this other. You guys follow me on Twitter at SEC Talk 20. Or excuse me, at Dawg Talk 20. Sorry, SEC Talk's the other show that we do. If I can get it all pulled up here for us. Sorry, guys. There we go. All right. That's all I got for you guys. Like I said before, I did pull up the support page, so if you guys don't mind supporting me, that would be awesome. You'll be able to click the link in the bottom of the description. You guys go and send a message there on Twitter if you guys would like. Shoot me whatever you guys want. Would appreciate it. Other than that, go Dogs. Hope you guys have a good week, and we will check in on you later this week to prepare for Missouri.